Hey y'all, it's Kate from the Apothecary and welcome back to my channel.
Welcome back to another Wheel of Time reading vlog. This is for the Gathering Stone book 12. This is the one where Brandon Sanderson starts writing it. He mentions in the introduction that Robert Jordan left many notes for him. He was selected by Robert Jordan's wife and editor, and that Jordan's original plan was to have the last 3 books as one book, but his editor slash wife and the publishers realized that when you put all of that material together, it actually is the equivalent to 3 normal sized Wheel of Time books, which are already huge in themselves. So they decided to split it up into 3 books. So now this is either part 1 of the last book or book 12. I'm considering these all separate books since they all have separate titles, kind of like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where at one point they were published all as one, but they all have their own names too. So I'm considering this book 12. So far, we've had an interesting-ish prologue that wasn't terribly long. Chapter 2, we were with Egwene and the White Tower, and she is trying to find ways to get information from her spies and to spy on Elida and figure out how to take Elida down. Chapter 3, we're with Avienda and the Aiel, and Avienda is being punished for something that she doesn't know what she's done, but the punishment that she gets at the end of this chapter from Amis is so frivolous that she says it must have been something very bad, but she still doesn't know what it is. We do get one quote. I pulled out one quote from this so far. The quote says, "I once thought that there was only one way to be strong, but I have learned from my first sister that I was wrong." This was a great quote about strength and how strength can be found in many different places and many different ways. This is on page 88 in the big hardcover copy. I'm up to page 92 now. Like I said, up through chapter 3. I am really interested to see where this goes, but that's it for now. Up through chapter 8 now. I'm trying to be better about checking in. This chapter was all about Swan and her agreement relationship question mark with Gareth Bryn. A lot comes out in this chapter. So she suspects some of the Aes Sedai or to be working with another of the Forsaken, and in her dream walking in Tangriel, she tells Egwene this. Egwene says, we kind of assumed this, but we didn't know who. But before that, we get this scene with Gareth Bryn in between the beginning of the chapter and the end of the chapter. Swan tells Gareth Bryn all about what we learned essentially from reading New Spring, the prequel. She tells him about how her and Moraine were 2 of only 4 people that knew about the Dragon Reborn when he was being born, and the other 2 people were dead. One was in Amyrlin. They almost guarantee that it was done by the Black Aja, and the Amyrlin named a Black Aja and then was killed. And she has hardly told anyone about that. And at the very end of this chapter, after she gets back from meeting with Egwene, she says she thinks she might be in love with Gareth Bryn. So that is huge. I don't know about you guys, but I love it when characters fall in love, whether it's expected or unexpected. This to me is totally unexpected, but I love it. I can't wait to see where this goes, because thinking of Swan being in love with Gareth Bryn is just so exciting for me. So that's it for now, and I'll check in with y'all again soon. So, an update on The Gathering Storm. I'm up through chapter 10 now. I know I should be way farther on this, but I've had a slow reading month and I have been spending more time with John and less time alone reading, and it's been a great month personally, but slow reading month. So I'm up through chapter 10 in The Gathering Storm, and this last chapter, I feel like we've really got to see just how much Rand has matured throughout this series. In this chapter, chapter 10, Rand goes and meets with I Teralda, and says, like, look, you're gonna lose this battle. I give you credit for staying here knowing that you're gonna lose it, but I've got a better deal for you. You go fight this battle for me and I'll make you a king. And Ituralda is like, well, I've got orders here. And Rand says, yeah, those orders that you got, either your king is dead or he's in the pocket of a Forsaken. So those orders don't really mean anything. But then we get this line throughout this chapter. The narration of our point of view is saying basically that there's something about Rand, this quote visitor, that draws Atralda in. He can't resist it, even though he wants to so badly. And then we get this line on page 177 in my copy. And this was something that I wrote down. I don't have a lot of quotes so far from this book, but I've got some. This has been a great book so far. So this quote says, there was a way about this man, the way he discussed events like the last battle, events that mankind had been fearing for thousands of years, as if they were items on the daily camp report. And that quote just stood out to me immediately. I knew I had to write that down. So I've got it written down in my quote book. I'll follow up in my journal, but that just shows like the maturity and the importance of Rand, that maybe he truly is the Dragon Reborn. We know because we hear his thoughts and his little internal monologues and conversations with Louis Theron, but no one else sees that. And so this is kind of a outward looking Rand chapter that kind of shows us, okay, maybe he really is a Dragon Reborn. Maybe he really does have all of this power that we've been hearing about. And I just love this chapter so much. So chapter 11 has us seeing just how much of a benefit Avienda can be to Rand. She is from the Aiel and she knows the way that they think and the way that they work. She knows how to pay attention to certain things, and she's starting to notice things with some of the Aiel. And Rand needs to really take advantage of this relationship he has with Avienda and have her be kind of a Aiel ambassador, if you will, for him. Part ambassador, part spy, maybe, because he's not noticing things that he needs to be noticing now with some of his Aiel. The Aiel men and Avienda is, and we're getting this in this chapter 11, and it's sooner or later it's going to catch up to him, and it's going to come out that Avienda had noticed this a long time ago, and then they're going to have a fight. And who knows what's going to happen from there. I did get one other quote written down. And this is a quote from Avienda. She says, but what you call a thing is important, Avienda said. It is not dishonest if both definitions are true. I love that quote. So that's it for now. So chapter 12 has us seeing Egwene being boss in the White Tower. She is discovering spies and people that she can trust. She's converting people to believe that she's the Amalency, and it is just so much fun to watch. I need more of this. I can't wait to see where this goes and see more of Egwene as the Amalency and just being boss. So I've been enjoying The Gathering Storm so much that I've completely forgot to check in. I'm like 20 chapters beyond where I last checked in, so this is a terrible reading vlog on my part, but I am really enjoying this book. So much is happening that I'm just so sucked into the reading that I forget to do these check-ins. I'm up to chapter 42 now, so you see how far I've gotten. I'm actually hoping to maybe finish it tonight, although based on the time it is right now, I probably won't get it done tonight, but maybe tomorrow. Definitely this week. So a lot has happened, obviously, since I last checked in. Rand is now off to basically try to trick and then confront one of the Forsaken. I think it was Grendel, who's been trying to trick him this whole time. He's trying to outsmart someone who he already admits is more clever than him. Matt is with the band, and he went into this really crazy town that has been touched by the Dark One, and at night everyone goes that is outside and not asleep goes crazy after sunset, and they wake up the next day like nothing's ever happened. No one remembers it all, remembers it or anything, and so that's happened. He's separated with Tuan. It's just, I've been trying to do reactions, but I missed so much in my check-ins that I feel like I have to kind of summarize at least a little bit what's happened since then before I can react. So let me go back to Rand. This is going to be a crazy mixed-matched check-in. Rand is now back to his like self-pitying stages. I really don't like him in these stages. I don't like him when he's not self-pitying either. It just, I don't know. It's boring reading to me. It's not good reading. I am interested to see how all this will shake down with the Forsaken though, because Nynaeve thinks he's insane for doing this. Min is scared, and Catswain is kind of, semi off in the wind, but not really. Matt is separated from Tuan, and we find out later on that Tuan is dead. There's a new empress, and I wanted more with that. The chapter title is all about Tuan's death, but we only get like maybe a paragraph about it, and that's just from like the third person, the new empress, and we got like no emotion in it. We learned this character this whole time, gotten semi close to her. There were moments I really liked with her, and then all of a sudden she's dead. We get no explanation of it, and I just wanted more with that moment. Now with Egwene is still in the White Tower, and she's gone up against Elaida. Elaida put her in prison, essentially, in one of the prison cells in the basement of the White Tower. And then Egwene is able to talk to Siuan through her dreams, which is good. She's got connection. Siuan wants to go and rescue her, but Egwene says, no, I must do my work here from the inside. It's the only way that we can unite the White Tower again. And then, oh my gosh, so much happens. We learned that the novice trainer, the person in charge of the punishments, has went against Elaida and said that Egwene is the Amerlin seat and Elaida should be deposed, and they released Egwene. Egwene went back to her room, and Varen Sedai was there waiting for her. And this was a huge moment for me. This was like the biggest moment of this book so far, and it's the one that I've been thinking about the most throughout this whole thing. Varen reveals that yes, she is Black Aja, but she was forced into it by the Dark One, and because of that, she's been taking notes on all of the Black Aja, and she hands Egwene this notebook full of notes on where they go, what they do, who they are, all of the Black Aja that she's been able to witness with her own eyes. And she also hands her another notebook that's essentially a code to read that first notebook that's written in code, and a tangrial that will make them invisible when it's wrapped around it. This is such huge news, and I love the way that Brandon Sanderson approached this, because this was such an important, momentous moment in this book, in this series as a whole. And it's handled that it's a quick scene, but it's an important scene, and you know it's important. And then at the end of the scene, because of her oath that she's taken, she essentially kills herself. She swallows poison or something. And then almost immediately after that, the White Tower is attacked by Sanchen. They come and they attack the tower. It's being destroyed. Egwene is using the novices to fight back, and she recognizes that this is the raid that she's dreamed about. She had dreams about this moment. She's fighting back. Suan hears news of this somehow, and first she thinks that Egwene is being killed by Elida, because she was talking to Egwene in the dream world, and Egwene just disappeared, and she knew she was being held in the prison cells, and Egwene just disappeared, so she just assumed that she was being executed by Elida. Then she finds out about this supposed attack by the Sanchin, and so she rounds up Gawain and Gareth Bryn, I just love their relationship so much. Gareth Bryn brings 100 of his men, and they go to the White Tower, and they find Egwene basically passed out. And then at the very end of that chapter, which I think was the last thing I read before I stopped reading this morning, we find out that Elida has been captured by the Sanchin. These whole like 2 chapters, 3 chapters with Egwene and the White Tower are so huge to this story, and I am loving this Aes Sedai part of the story more than the Dragon Reborn part. And I can't wait to see where all of this goes. So that was a long check-in, but as you can see, I missed a lot, and so I'm really enjoying this, and I really want to get back to reading. I have another Gathering Storm update for you all. I just finished chapter 45, and my brain is still kind of processing everything that's been happening. We started this chapter learning that Egwene had 50 Black Aja executed. And then she's about ready to lay siege to the White Tower, and a procession of Ajas come out to meet her and tell her that the hall has elected her as the Amerlin seat. Now we know she's been the Amerlin seat for the, quote, rebels, but now all of the Aes Sedai must acknowledge her as the Amerlin seat. This is like the true Amerlin seat, and this is such a huge moment for everyone in this world. I am just soaking in this moment. It is so exciting. I am just at one of those speechless moments right now where I don't really have much to say, but I felt like I had to come in and check in because this was such a huge moment. So in the Gathering Storm, I'm making such good progress. I think I'm going to be able to finish this today. I'm up through chapter 47 now, and I have a quote for us, but I also have a check-in for this chapter. So the quote says, "The soldier who dies for money and the soldier who dies for loyalty are both dead, but there's a difference between them. One death meant something, the other didn't." And I love that quote. Now my check-in is about this interaction with Rand and Tam. I loved it, but I kind of also wanted more from it. I mean, it was nice and nostalgic, but I wanted it to have more weight than it did. I feel like Sanderson was kind of hinting at that weight there, but not going full in. And I wanted to go full in on that interaction because that was such a big moment. So I felt a little bit let down, but maybe that's just me, and reading all of these emotional books wants more emotion in it. Who knows? So just finished The Gathering Storm, and reading this ending, it was good, but you can tell that it was meant to be something more. At the beginning of this reading vlog, I had mentioned that Brandon Sanderson wrote in his introduction that the last 3 books Robert Jordan had intended to be one book on its own, and Brandon Sanderson and the publishers split up into 3 books. This ending kind of feels like that. You can tell that it was supposed to be something much bigger. I still really, really enjoyed this book. I have to write up my call pile score, but my feeling is that it's a 5-star. We'll see where the actual score lands, and I'll check in one last time for this book once I have my score. Final rating for The Gathering Storm equals a 5 out of 5 stars. I truly enjoyed this book. It is a low 5-star, not the highest, but there were certain moments in this book that happened with certain characters that I wanted more on the page. As you know from watching this reading vlog now, there were, I think of the Tuan's death that was kind of just brushed over. I think of the interaction between Rand and Tam, that, yes, we hear about. We saw a little bit of both Rand and Tam afterwards said that Rand tried to kill Tam, but we didn't see a lot of it on the page, and I wanted more out of those 2 moments, and that's why it's a low 5-star instead of a mid to high 5-star. But I truly, truly enjoyed this one, and I can't wait to see where the last 2 books go. And so let me know in the comments below. A lot of people have read this series before, obviously. What were your thoughts of The Gathering Storm? Did you agree with me on some of these? Did you not agree? What was your rating for it? What's your favorite book so far in the series? This is definitely one of my favorites. I don't know if it's the favorite, but one of the favorites. It's up there. Yeah, and so that's it for now. Keep reading, and I love you all to the moon and back.